Well, the weekend has come to an end, but we do not end things here. So, if you guys are big fans of the Japanese wrestling scene, as always, you guys are in the right channel. So, today we're going to be doing three reviews from three different events in the same day. We have ChocoPro number 483 featuring three interesting matches. As you probably know, we are on the road to Cult Heroine, which is the 30th anniversary of Emi Sakura. So it's going to be a lot of fun and wacky matches in ChocoPro. And then we move on, of course, with the much recent events by Stardom in Fuji. As you know, there's some preliminary matches involving for a Cork and Hall event, and not to mention, of course, upcoming events by the end of this month or so. And then finally, as you know, we continue with day 4 of New Japan Pro Wrestling Super Junior Tag League. We're only going to focus on B block matches only. Well, it turns out Taiji Shimori is back. He is fully, better now, and we can't wait to see what he's going to do. But we will pay attention exactly how this is going to play out. And as always, we'll wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information has been unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on a like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. Let's get started. So, let's begin with the latest events by ChocoPro Pro Wrestling. Alright, ChocoPro Pro Wrestling number 483. And this is just a recent show in Ichigai Square. So as always, Emi Sakura opened up the show greeting the fans and of course giving the info on the event's matches. So let's begin with the first one. We have a 6-person tag match. We have Kaho Hiromi, Hiro Iwata, and Sayaka Obihiro, aka Obi. They take on Chiko Shikawa, Tokiko Kihara, and Balin Aki. Now, of course, you could see certain factors of the match. You look at, of course, the team with Kaho, Obi, and Hiroyi. You can tell the two possible outcomes on this one, how it's going to end due to the factors as they've been losing on their matches. And you can tell there's some strong sense team with the opposites with Tokiko, Chi, and Balian. So you probably can tell certain things are going to happen, but in the end, it was, of course, Tokiko who picked up the win by applying a submission on Hiroyi. And of course, Hiroyi had no choice but to tap out. Now, our next match, we have Irikani. As you all know, she made her return after being injured. She faces against, of course, Mei Shruga, who many of you know she will probably do her usual shenanigans. I mean, not playing by the rules, disagreeing with the referee, that sort of thing. And of course, Balanaki tried to tell her to quit it, all that stuff. That's basically who Mei really is, because she doesn't care, because people call her, the Apple Goblin, I call her the Slide Devil, because she likes to get away with things that she shouldn't be. But of course, Irikani did everything humanly possible to try to put her down, but in the end, Mei Shruga picked up the win by pinfall, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we have an interesting tag team match. We have Soy and Miyatsuba once again teaming up. They take on Kirumi Hiragi and Emi Sakura. Now, of course, you can tell certain moments of this match. When it comes to, of course, cohesion, we all know that Soy and Mia have been very cohesion and very equal since they formed together. You probably can guess that from looking at it. But, of course, when it comes to Emi Sakura, well, she's a bit of aggressive. She likes to take things just a little too far. Well, you look at Hiragi, well, she's almost similar in some ways. Don't forget, she's a member of Providence, which is a independent all-women's unit. They tendency of hardcore matches and all that stuff. But, however, that doesn't change anything. But we did see a moment where, of course, somehow Emi Sakura brought out a hose and started dosing, of course, Hiragi. I don't know what the heck was that all about. But, however, they applied both a double Mahistral on their opponents, on Soy and Mia, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, for the Junkin tournament, well, this one was a bit of a close one, because by the end we have Sayaka Obihiro, aka Obi, taking on Mia. Now, these two ladies have won in the past, of course, the tournament, but in the end it turned out to be one. It was Obi who picked up the win, and just like that, it was over. She won the piece of chocolate. So, as you know, we're done with this. I can't wait to see when we get to the next show, Cult of Heroine, their big show. And as of right now, we are done with ChocoPro. Let's move on with, of course, Stardom. Okay, Stardom. As you know, they made a pit stop in their recent show in Fuji at the Fujisan Masi. So let's begin with our first match. We have, of course, the members of Hate, consisting of Rina, who is 1/3 of the Artist Champions, along with, of course, 1/2 of the Goddesses Tag Champions, Ruaka. They take on the members of Stars, Momokoko and Sayaeda. Now, of course, Stars have not been in the same good place recently. As you know, Hanan is out of action due to an injury. We don't know. B Priest is taking some time off. Yuria just recently got, injured herself. But we will see how things roll. But however, when it comes to Hate, we all know how they operate. They like to cheat their way through by using weapons and outside help, as we all know. In the end, of course, it was Raka with the freezer bomb onto Momokoko, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Rina and Raka pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have a 6-woman tag match. We have EXP, Rian, Waka, Tsukiyama, and Hanako. They take on Emma Maishima and the members of God's Eye, Hina and Ami Sori. Now, of course, you will tell some moments between Ami Sori and Hanako having, of course, how do I put this? A powerhouse type of dynamic they could play out. But however, of course, the obvious factor is Emma Maishima. Many of you know that already, that she is a rookie, most likely the one to take the fall, as always, because she's one of the much recent batches of wrestlers that debuted not too long ago. And obviously, in the end, it was, of course, Rian that picked up the win by applying a bridge onto her, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we have the members of Hate, consisting of Azusa Inaba, double champion for GTO, and of course the other half of the Goddesses tag titles, Natsuko Tora. They take on the members of Mi Vida Loca, consisting of Akira Kurigani and Bozilla. Now, I'm sure Natsuko Tora would love nothing more to send a message to her opponents for the championships that would take place the next day. We're talking about Rina Yamashita and Izuki Aoki. And of course, when it comes to Hate, as always, we know that they like to play dirty tactics in some capacity. And of course, that's practically what was happening from there on. But in the end, it was in fact Azusa Inaba with a running knee strike onto Kurigani, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we have the members of God's Eye, consistent of Rane Agami, Tomoka Inaba, Lady C, and Saki Kashima, taking on God's Eye members Sayaka Kurara, Aya Sakura, Yuna Mizumori, and Natsupoi. Now, of course, many of you guys know, and recently we've been seeing some sort of unusual activity between both Sayaka Kurara and Saki Kashima. We know that she's been acting a little weird, but recently Kurara kind of put Saki Kashima in a very, very difficult position. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, well, Bozilla wanted to have a chance against her in a singles match, which of course Kashima did not like. And of course, Kurara tried to apologize to that, but however, of course, Kashima was not having it, no matter what. And of course, Kurara tried to be polite, apologize for what happened, but of course, you have to know that Kashima will not take apologies that likely after putting herself in a much difficult position. And that's exactly what was happening. However, you probably would think that there was going to be an easy way for Kashima to get a little bit of payback for what just happened. Well, unfortunately, no, because she got kicked in the face by Sakura, giving enough time for Kurara to apply the jackknife, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Kurara picked up the win for her team. However, during the post-match, Kurara tried to is apologizing to her for what happened, but she did stated that she hopes that she walks away with the win so she can have her one-on-one match against her. And of course, people are behind Kashima because Kurara really, really wants her to win. And of course, you can tell there are moments we've seen Kashima how much of a fraidy cat she is. I mean, who could forget how afraid she was with Shuri when she beat her in one of the matches during the 5-star Grand Prix, and she did not want to wrestle her, and she tried to run from it, but it didn't do any well. But I have to say it was a pretty good match. Now, our next match, we have Kikyo Furuzawa taking on Sayuri Ano. Now, I have to say, Furuzawa has been a very impressive wrestler throughout this entire time since she debuted. She had a bit of technical aspects that you wouldn't imagine. I mean, she had an amazing debut against Hana like months ago. But with her taking on a much better veteran than Hana, you would know it's going to be a good match. And I have to say, it was a pretty good one. But in the end, of course, Furuzawa ended up losing by Sayuri Ano with the German suplex. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But of course, during the post-match promo, Sayuri Ano told Furuzawa that she can sense how frustrated it has been for her losing. But of course, Sayuri Ano always believes in the rookies, always believes in them, that they will pick up their first big win. She even said that about Yuri Him as well. And she can't wait to see that happen. So we'll have to wait what Furuzawa has to do. And then our next match, we have we have Neo Genesis. We have Miyu Amasaki, Mei Sita, and Starlight Kid taking on the members of Hate, consistent of Momo Watanabe, Konami, and of course Sayaka Mitani. However, you can consider this one a parallel match between Starlight Kid and Konami. Don't forget, not too long ago, Konami issued a challenge for the White Belt, a championship that, of course, Konami has challenged herself, but unfortunately ended up losing to that. And now she wants to have another opportunity in hopes, because as you know, in recent time, Hate has majority of the belt, some certain majority of the belts, like the red belt, the tag belts, the artist belts, and the New Japan Strong Women's title, that sort of thing. And not to mention Azusa Inaba, who is the outsider of Stardom, but also has championships that make it look like that she's part of it. So you can tell that's how it plays out. But however, there was a good moment where there was a bit of a trouble in paradise between Momo Watanabe and Sai Kamitani. For those who have forgotten, Momo Watanabe is in fact the winner of the 5-star Grand Prix and issued the challenge for Kamitani, and that's how things ended. But in the end, it was of course a moonsault by Starlight Kid to Konami, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. And of course, Starlight Kid applied a very interesting post-match promo. So we can't wait to see what's going to happen between Konami and Starlight Kid. But of course, Kamitani and Momo Watanabe are definitely going to have a little problem because they want to face off each other as much as possible before their big match. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, we are done with Stardom. Let's move on with our next and final review, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, final review. New Japan Pro Wrestling Day 4 of Super Junior Tag League, and this one is at the Uonuma City, somewhere around there in Niigata. Hopefully I pronounced it right. But anyway, we're gonna focus on B block matches only, in case anybody asked. The first match, we have the House of Losers, consistent of Dick Togo and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, taking on Kukai and El Desperado, who are currently holding on as much as possible with just 2 points. However, the House of Losers are the only team that are currently with no points because, of course, of the usual shenanigans. Now, of course, when it comes, we all know that Desperado would aim for Kanemaru for obvious reasons. Don't forget, these two guys used to be tag team partners when they first appeared here in New Japan many years ago, and they were the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Champions a long time ago. And now that kind of plays out. But however, F and Dick decided to play dirty and threw white powder in the face of Kukai, and that gave, of course, Kanemaru the opportunity to roll up, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. So they got their 2 points. However, they are currently holding on by a thread. But the real question is, can they gain the next 2 points, or they will be officially out? That is something we don't know. We know how dirty they can play. They think they're tough. But that's why I call them the House of Losers, because they cheat. So we'll see how that rolls up. Now, our next match, we have the War Dogs, Robbie Eagles and Taiji Ishimori. As you all know, Ishimori, who was out for a while due to the fact that he was sick, but now he's better. They face against Tiger Mask and Yamato. Now, I want to scratch what I said. Apparently, I didn't realize because I didn't look at my notes. Tiger Mask and Yamato are currently still at 0. They have not picked up any wins since they first teamed up in the first 2 days at Corkin Hall. But, however, when it comes to Robbie X and Taiji Ishimori, they know how to get along. Not to mention, it was, in fact, Ishimori who recruited him to join, and they have been teaming ever since then. They teamed up since last year, and now it's happening. But in the end, it was Robbie X with the X Express onto Tiger Mask, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. But I also want to make a clarification for anybody to know this. This will be the last time Tiger Mask will be participating, because he'll be retiring in the summer of 2026. So this will be his last tournament. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Yuko Yoshioka from Dragon Gate teaming up with Kushida. They take on, of course, last year's winners of the Super Junior Tag League, the Ichiban Sweet Boys, Kosa Fujita and Robbie Eagles. Now, one thing is interesting, of course, is Yoshioka. Many of you guys know this. He has far more better experience than Kosa Fujita. There was a great moment on that, like saying that who is the hierarchy in some capacity. But of course, we've been seeing certain maneuvers, how those who follow TMDK, their kind of operating way to when they fight is to try to dismantle a certain part of the body of their opponents, like an arm or leg. Well, it seems Yoshioka and Kushida have been also focusing on that. I mean, they are using a certain playbook from TMDK. You would have thought that that would have been helpful for them, but unfortunately it did not, because in the end it was a very interesting teaming between Fujita and Eagles when they took out Kushida, and just like that, Eagles picked up the victory, 1, 2, 3. it's over. So just like that, right now, as we speak, in this tournament in the B block, the Ichiban Sweet Boys are currently in the lead. So they're currently undefeated, but we will see what happens. So if they can hold on, could they repeat the fact that they won last year? That is something we'll just have to wait and see. So we'll end things here with New Japan and all reviews. Let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's get started with some upcoming events. As you all know, Prestige Wrestling are now in their final phases of their last 3 events they'll be participating before they going on their hiatus. As you know, they got their Big Kiss Goodbye event on the 2nd November. 2 matches have been announced. Now, this was interesting about these 2 matches. These individuals were involved in an 8-man tag team match at Roseland, and now they're teaming up. Drells and Jaden, who teamed up together with the Flaming Aces, well, those 2 will be teaming up to take on Sid Silem and Cole Rivera. While, of course, their partners that they teamed up at Roseland will be Flaming Aces will be taking on Elliot Tyler and Casey Ferreira. Now, as you probably may have heard, on November 4th, New Japan will be hosting a show for Tenryu Genichiro's retirement 10th anniversary event. For those who don't know, Genichiro is a long-time Japanese wrestler. Many of you may know his history. He started out in All Japan, and then he then he started his own promotion. Didn't do so well. Then he returned to All Japan, and now then he formed a new one called the Tenryu Project. Pretty good show, not gonna lie. But now he's on the verge of retirement. This will be, and it's gonna take place in Corkin Hall on the 4th of November. And please keep in mind, this will be the last time that the Tenryu Project will be, of course, operating in Corkin Hall. So that's kind of sad, but it is what it is. Now, NXT has announced that they will be having a 2-week event called Gold Rush. They're going to have the wrestlers from not only NXT, but also in Evolve, TNA, and AAA. All championships will be defended. It's going to go on November 15th and also November 28th. So mark your calendars on that. And then finally, Maya Iwatani will have her 15th anniversary show called The Icon Forever. Very catchy title. I have to say it was a pretty good one because we all know her as the icon, of Stardom, and then now the icon of Yoshi Wrestling. And that's exactly what she is. And this event will take place on the 24th of January in Corkin Hall. So this is going to be great. I can't wait to see it. I'm sure Wrestle Universe may broadcast it, hopefully so. Now, for our developments, I have not seen it yet, but I hope I will. Well, maybe I will. About IYO Sky, the talks about the possible reunion of Thunder Rock. If you guys are not familiarized with Thunder Rock, is the tag team name with her and Maya Iwatani. Backstory on that, these guys were an amazing tag team in Stardom until IYO turned her back on Mayu due to the fact they lost the tag belt. And of course, Mayu tried to reason with her, and this led to IYO Sky, who at the time was known as IYO Shirai, to start her own faction known as Queen's Quest. She was the original founder, along with, of course, Azuki and Momo Watanabe. But she had something to say about the idea of reuniting with Mayu and reforming Thunder Rock. Let me pull that up for all of you. Yes, this is what she said. Mayu said the thing is this ring is like family to me as well, which words that made me very happy. So if the opportunity is provided, and if my boss Triple H gives his permission, then absolutely, I guess I always am ready to, and I'm ready to state. So yeah, so she is looking forward, hopefully, if Triple H allows it, for her to return to Japan and team up with Mayu to form Thunder Rock. That would be great. Now, I know some people in the WWE who are loyal to them who are just strictly WWE fans, not anything else. Some of you may question, why would Maya just go to WWE? That would be easier for her. Guys, she already made that perfectly clear. She has no intentions of leaving Japan. Not to mention, she has mouths to feed. I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking about her dogs and cat. So yeah, that's how it is. She doesn't want to leave them there. I know what you guys are going to say. She could bring them to the States. Maybe so, but we just don't know how things work when transporting. And don't forget, guys, there's still that whole thing what's going on in our country with people making the move here. So we don't know. But like I said, Mayu has no intentions. So cut her some slack on that. So as of right now, we are officially done with everything. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to watch Marigold's much recent Grand Destiny. I just made a executive decision. I decided not to continue with more of the Battle Heart events. I'm a bit behind on everything else. I don't want to push it in. So I'm just going to focus on the great Grand Destiny that came out. And I do know there is a recent Stardom show took place, one of their big shows in Cork and Hall again. So I'll probably focus on that. And if I do see Mighty Gold's Grand Destiny, I'll probably put those together, continuing with the whole Yoshi thing going around. And I also made another executive decision regarding Tokyo Show Pro Wrestling. As you all know, they recently did the Tokyo Princess Cup. I decided I'm not going to do all of them. I'm going to go up to Wrestle Princess, which is their version of WrestleMania, and focus on that instead. And there are some shows after that. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do those, but we'll see. I'm going to see if I can catch up with those. But the rest, like Sendai Girls, Oz Academy, Seedling, and other things, stuff like those, there still will remain in the same faction until I get a clear view of everything. And I decided not to follow up with Pro Wrestling Noah because I'm going to drop that with all of their events. I'm way behind on that. I feel like I need to focus on the Yoshi wrestling scene because I feel I got some of you guys who are big fans of that. I'm just going to focus on that. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.